Podcast.
The results of the 2023 general elections and conduct of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has stirred a lot of reactions from Nigerians. Definitely, emotional reactions will accompany the aftermath of every election. There is a recently released satirical song titled Mr. Yakubu.
You serve the talk when we protest the shot. Make we carry PVC, make we see what thing goes up. Suddenly, it's kata, area boy, tijagba, asole, dejakpa, olokpa, egaida.
Can we say this song was intended to talk about the 2023 elections, or it is just a coincidence? Well, like it is said, let us hear from the horse's mouth. Let's move away from the desk of speculations and join Vector today on Mike and Podcast as Seun Kimbaloye host him for this conversation.
The 60% of Us series.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's podcast, Mike on Podcast, with me, Seun Kimbaloye. The elections are over, but Nigerians have not yet moved on from the outcome of the elections. In fact, the elections are not over in totality because on the 15th of April, INEC will be conducting rerun and supplementary elections in some parts of the country. But what is getting our attention today is the outcome of the election and how Nigerian entertainers and average Nigerians are reacting to the results of the election. Today, we'll be taking a look at a satire that has been released in form of a musical work that was released by Falz and Vector. These are two Nigerian prominent rapper and music artists. They released that song portraying the headship of the Independent National Electoral Commission and the affiliate component of stakeholders in our electoral process. Today on the Mike on Podcast, we have joining me one of the artists who produced that body of work, Vector, a prominent Nigerian rapper. Thank you so much, Vector, for joining us today on the Mike on Show.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, great. Yakubu seems to be one song that is getting a lot of attention now from a lot of Nigerians. Can you give us an idea of what inspired that song?
It's been a long time coming that you hear people who are supposedly in charge of your life in the country. You just hear answers from them that are not necessarily whole. The idea is to seek accountability in every form possible. And that record is just one of them, pretty much addressing the idea of what's been going on so far in the news, what we've been seeing, what's been reported. It's pretty much that, if I'm being honest with you. Is Falz approached me and said he wanted to make a body of work or a bunch of records, and we didn't plan it to be so. We just went into the studio and our opinions just started to form what became this hit record, I guess.
Interesting. So it wasn't really a part of the body of work you were planning to work on, but this was just like an extempore or an impromptu or something that you did not, that came out of the studio banter, isn't it?
This definitely came out of our conversations about our present reality in the society, which is what music should really address many times. It's about how things are going on in the society. Making it clear, not taking our people for granted, the people who call the fans, the people who support what we do, the people who give many other values to what we do. These things affect us all, and we must make music about them. So yes, what I meant about what I said earlier with myself and Falz having a conversation is that he had approached for us to make music together but there was no premeditated concept or stories to tell. He just approached, and we went into the studio, and the records came out as they did. So yeah, pretty much.
So can you give us an idea what this music is all about? I know you're a rapper, and rappers are lyricists, people who have depth in poetry and in the use of language. And there's a lot that is being said in that song that beyond the surface, the metaphors that are being portrayed there. This is supposed to be a satire, isn't it? Can you give us an idea what the music stands for? What exactly are you trying to say through that song?
Growing up a Yoruba person, you're not supposed to talk to the elders or ask them. Pretty much the elders cannot lie, and in evolving culture and our lifestyle, we must evolve everything about it, including the thought process. So pretty much this is us asking our elders who cannot lie that why can't we trust? No, why can't we trust you? This is why we can't trust you. You can't tell the people one thing and do the other, and expect there to be some level of trust holistically with you. It doesn't work that way. So this is us asking accountability, especially of people who had mentioned earlier what is going to be done and how we are supposed to follow it. So from PVC registrations to transmission of election results, all those things were told to us exactly how we're supposed to go with it or follow it, only for it to start to change. And we're trying to build a way forward where the youth, that is the larger demographic in Nigeria, compared to the older generation, you expect them to be carried along, but then not according to your words. I would have a problem with that as an individual, regardless.
Who are your targets in this? Who are you referring to in this song? There are people, specific people that you guys, the artists, the creators of this music, are trying to portray.
I don't understand the question clearly. Maybe.
So you mentioned Yakubu in the song, and you definitely portrayed some characters in the song. Can you give us an idea of those whom you are directly talking to? You are passing a message to some folks, isn't it?
I'm passing a message to people who have questions in their head, just like me, or in their heads, just like me. Who are we talking to? We're talking to everybody who is in a position of power that is not giving us reasons to trust them. Now, I choose my words carefully because trust is a very important thing in leading the people, especially if you want to lead the people appropriately in every sense of the word. So this is us asking, so should we trust you in this case? To everybody. So Yakubu is to anybody who has even by themselves, whether male or female, come out to state that this is where they stand. But when it's time for us to hold strongly their claims, we find them wanting. Those words are just things they said. It feels like, those people that know what you want to hear over what exactly it is. So they say what you want to hear over what it is or what they're really about. And that's the general idea of the music. Yakubu addresses everybody that wants the youth or the younger generation or any Nigerian to trust them, but they're not acting along the lines of trust, at least so that we can prove and say that, okay, we trust this person because, what do Yorubas call it again? We bear, she bear, me. Yes. Right?
Someone who says things and does it.
Yes. Yes. So if you say...
Accountability, basically.
This is my personal stance. If I'm looking at the news, I'm not doing hearsay, I'm looking at the news, the generally published one to everybody. And I hear that these are the steps that will be taken in forward advancing our political inclusion tactics or political inclusion. I struggle with the words, but yes, the way we try to include people politically in the conversation so that we know that it's a patriotic thing It's going to deal with a lot of trust, and you're going to have to give us your word, especially if you're the person representing the people. And if your word is found, as lamba, then we have a problem, because we need people who can tell us that this is what it is. Like we said, say and do. What you say is exactly what it is. Isn't that what political office should be, especially if it represents the people?
So, Yakubu, because you're talking about elections, and a lot of inference have been made, of course, the head of the Electoral Commission in Nigeria, his name is Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. And so there are a lot of people who have said Vector and Faz are obviously talking about this man. Is that true?
There are two arguments in the record. Maybe you should listen to it. There are two arguments in the record, and if you listen to my arguments properly, you would see. Listen to the music. I think it is also a beautiful conversation to have about rap and how to enjoy that genre of music. You have to listen to the music and see exactly what it is. It's not about what you think. It's not about who you think is being directed to. Listen to the music. Everything that is being said is in the music. It's a holistic body of reference to what has happened. So from people being assaulted, from elections being disrupted, from, every spec that we observe is what we made music about. And according to how Powers has said it now, let the person that the shoe fits wear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Vector, I see a lot of, and so that's why, as a student of literature, I know that in a satire work, the audience can perceive it in whatever way they want to perceive it, and the metaphors seem to be able to come out to whoever thinks that this message relates to them in whichever way. So in part of the music, you say that Yakubu could be like the head of government. Yakubu could be like the man who does not need a gun, the man who verifies the result. In fact, there are inferences about even the judiciary about all of this. But I'm just putting back what people, the responses to that music. For those who feel, since you're talking about our elections and our results of election and all of that, accountability, maybe you are referring to the head of INEC. And is it just coincident that Professor Yakubu is the head of INEC and Yakubu is being referred to as a metaphoric personality in that song?
Well, if I were to go with what you said earlier, in my own understanding, art is left interpreted by the observer of the art, But of course, again, let's not make this thing particular. The argument is a broad one. It's a broad spectrum that we let everybody pick from, because I, for one, I strongly believe in individuals thinking by themselves. I don't have to tell you what to think about. That's one. Two, I understand that you work in press, so your analysis may come from, observation of what the public is saying, but our artistic way is personal. It's left to us, and that still goes a long way to say we're not necessarily talking about the elections. We're talking about the ills in society, and that ills in society can be cabalism. It can be that's in the sense of cabals. It can be how the election was handled. It can be INEC. It can be anybody. It's left to you to interpret it. However, we've given you the job to do as an individual, as it should be, especially with lyricism, to think. So I'll leave it to everybody saying exactly what, exactly to who the shoe fits wearing. That's it.
You're on fast through this music. Do you want to portray some kind of evangelism or activism? Which one in this way? Because it will now lead me to the next question.
I wouldn't know what evangelism is, but in this basic understanding of what evangelism is, I guess it is, activism. Yes, no. Activism. I don't see myself as an activist in whatever sense you see it. I see myself as an observer, and I'm speaking my mind. So whatever you hear of my lyric will be, well, again, if I get you pregnant, I'm doing it by myself. What my music exactly my thoughts. It's not, of course, it can be seen as activism, but I'm not an activist trying to save the people, and I have not saved myself. I'm also a victim of everything that I'm singing about or talking about. So, yeah, evangelism, I'm doing God's work because it's God gifted. Activism, yeah, but I'm not holistically putting that up because beyond that, I'm also a human being that enjoys life in different facets. So it's not, I carry it ahead, even though it affects me and I must speak about it. And maybe it's high time we started to see activism as an everyday thing that is normal over somebody specially designated to be one, because the complaints or the points of the activists affects everybody, including those who don't claim they're activists. So I'm just a human being expressing his own concerns and things that affect him directly.
So if there is one message that you hope that this music or this song will serve or portray or throw to the society, what would that message be, Vector?
It would be that it's okay for you to question anything you deem questionable without worry of opinions or false understandings. Just question it. When our parents sent us to school, say me, for example, I learned about skeptics and skepticism in the University of Lagos, and I guess that's an allowed argument anywhere in the world in any conversation. So if there's anything, I want the average Nigerian or the average listener of the music to be comfortable with their skepticism. It's okay to be a skeptic and vocalize based on your skepticism, if at all, you know. Yeah.
Let me drag you to an area that you probably don't delve into. I know you're a very critical minded person, so I'm very sure that this conversation is one that you may not be having it in public space, but you might be having it in your own private arena. But give me an idea of your own assessment of the elections of 2023.
There is a bottom line when it comes to elections, as we're single-handedly talking about elections. There's a bottom line for me personally. And that bottom line is, if there's any rule that's been given to us as a people, unanimously agreed or claimed to be or allegedly unanimously agreed, because it becomes alleged when things don't suddenly seem like it's unanimously agreed anymore. When things are unanimously agreed, it's nice for us to stay on the money, stay on the conversation. So if you've told us that this is how things are going to go in the elections, I'm looking out for what the INEC chairman has said, because he said that's how it's going to go. Mind you, this has nothing to do with party affiliations. This is just, okay, as a Nigerian, we have a body that is responsible for electoral process. Okay, and this body has given out set guidelines of how we're going to move, or how we can observe and monitor how they will move. I need ask on our behalf, because these are the future of tomorrow. They are the ones that are adults now, they are the children, all those things. It's on our behalf. When you say this is how we should go about it, and by that reason, we have been made to go through stress to get our permanent voters card, and you then now betray, or let me choose my words carefully, not betray, you then now misrepresent from what you've initially said the process will be. You've left us thinking that you are not trustworthy. And if you've left us thinking you're not trustworthy, how then do we go about believing you? Because this is governance. Governance has to do with a lot of, say, utilitarian arguments. By utilitarian arguments, I mean the argument of the larger number. So if the larger number are comfortable with you, then I guess what you're saying is right. But if the larger number is not, they are not comfortable, how then can we move forward as a people? Isn't politics about the larger number? Isn't that what justifies what is right? So if there's a large number of people having issues with exactly what you've told us that is going to be, we have the right to question you, don't we?
How do you think this message, how do you plan that this message will sit? Because there is a phase of you recording the song is out there, and now there is a push, there is a challenge now online for people to jump on the song. Basically, and that's why I asked the question, if in this sense, you want to see this song as a form of activism. Where exactly do you want this song to sit in the minds of an average Nigerian or average person hearing it?
Again, I have my opinions, and I don't, as an artist, as I guess it should be, I don't make music planning that it is going to go out here and do this. I just make the music. And when I'm done making the music, whatever you deem fit as knowledgeable from it, you can take, right? Whatever you deem fit as worthy of emulation, you can take. Our job as artists is just to express our innermost thoughts artistically, which is what we've done. Again, I said earlier, I look forward to a Nigeria where people don't have to depend on what you tell them to do it. You know, I look forward to a Nigeria where everybody can sit down and analyze for themselves. So I've made the record with Fowls. You sit down and listen and analyze by yourself. It's okay to not be with us. It's okay to be with us. Everybody is free. I want you to freely access what is going on and decide by yourself. Don't say because Vector said it. No, Vector has said his own. What do you think about what Vector has said? In your life, are you going on with it or you're not? If you're going on with it, nice. If you're not, also nice, So again, I leave it in the hands of the people because it's also what the academic situation has failed the students on. The ability to be able to think for themselves, the ability to be able to sit down and solely evaluate information from any media outlet, to be able to decide by themselves. And I would not compromise on that. Anybody that hears Yakubu can go ahead and decide for themselves what they want Yakubu to mean and what they think it should mean and how it should inspire them into being fearless with questioning things that they are not sure about, especially if it has been promised initially that it was going to go a certain way, and all of a sudden there are too many excuses. It's not like we're saying excuses or things don't happen wrongly, but can we just go according to what is being said? And if it is wrong, let's know that it is wrong. So everything that is dealt in that line is wrong. But this is one man particularly thinking. I'm not expecting anybody to wake up and say, because Vector thinks this way, I will start to think this way. No, you can analyze what Vector thinks and then come up with your own thinking. I guess that's the final one for me with the music, or any music I put out anyways. Use your mind.
Vector, what do you think? I mean, I know that you've had a running battle with people in the manner in which they perceive your music and the message that comes out of it. And like you said, I mean, you're an artist. A military man's tool is his gun and its weapons. An artist is his tool of trade, is his talent. And so you use your talent in the manner in which you are inspired to use it. In this sense, are you concerned that some persons might feel that they are being targeted by this music? Have you considered it? Do you also think that there might be an incident of a coincidence of a name?
A coincidence of, you said name?
Yeah.
Well, whoever feels targeted, that's their personal response to something that is going on, because, that it's not directed at targeting you. It's directed at addressing what we saw. So if you feel targeted, maybe you should check yourself. Plus, it's music. If it's a lie, you shouldn't be worried now, right? If it's not true, you shouldn't be worried. We may just be musicians just saying what we thought. Especially if there is no proof to back it up. I guess that we use it at that. But I don't think music can be targeted. Any Yakubu in the world can feel targeted by the reference to Mr. Yakubu, but it doesn't have to be about them. So how then do you have the validation to the point where you feel targeted? It's not. It's music.
So it's not intended to target anyone in particular.
It's intended to target a feeling. The artist, not an individual. So this is according to how we feel and we've expressed. Other artists can feel free to express otherwise. They can feel free to express however they deem fit for themselves. However, this is just and I can only speak for myself, even though is a feature. It's our personal expression of what we're seeing in our society today. Isn't that what inspiration is or should be?
Interesting. So the song has gotten a lot of listening and a lot of play on YouTube and online. Where do you see this going, this message? Where do you think, or what exactly, how far reaching do you think do you want this message to go? What are the specific things? If you have three, for example, can you tell me three things that you will like if there is any magic this song could perform? What are the three things that you would like it to change?
I don't know about three, but I've constantly referenced or mentioned that I want, not that I want, used by want, I guess. I would like to see a Nigeria where everybody thinks for themselves. I'd like to see a Nigeria, although I understand clearly that academic training will help you towards achieving that goal. However, without going into too much details on the side of academics or academia, I would like for my music has always been geared towards helping people think by themselves with propositions or premises or arguments that are very, it's kind of like what the Yoruba adages or say, or what Ifa generally does, or what Yoruba wise saying generally does. It leaves the value of the adage to the interpretation of the adage according to the interpreter. So I want the average, I would like, what I want again may not be what I get, but I would like to see where with the music, it encourages individuals to think by themselves and analyze things by themselves, and then know that speaking by themselves and sticking to what they speak according to themselves is key. So no matter what the politician says to you, it's about what you think about his countenance, his background, his history, like every other thing according to you. So one thing that I'm sure that I want music to be able to do is to help people, is to help them in encouraging the feeling of questioning anything, especially this type of music. You should question anything. Like I say to my mom, there is new wisdom every time. There is old wisdom, but there's new wisdom, and you cannot deny that. So we're younger minds of today who have dealt and experienced different scenarios of today, and we have our own wisdom of today. I would like to see a Nigeria whereby the average youth or the average younger person is allowed to freely evaluate anything that is thrown at them, whether politically, whether musically, because yes, even in the music industry, messages are just being thrown out there recklessly. And we know that, and we're not even denying that. However, if we're not going to deny that in music, should we deny that in politics? Or should we deny that in governance? Let anybody who has something to speak about it. What then is the freedom of communication or speech? That's what I want my music to continuously do, to give people the sense of individual belief enough to hold on to their individual beliefs so that they can have a sense of analysis that is individual and not group. Because the group maybe, but the individual at least, can think for themselves. And if at all they are wrong, they can say, I am wrong, Not, oh, it was the thing that they said that made me wrong. I think that's silly for any person who is trying to make any serious sense in any argument. So again, I would expect that the music goes into your soul and awakens what it needs to awaken there so that you can become without the excuse of what we are learning in philosophy called determinism, peer pressure. At some point, you should be able to recognize peer pressure and stay away from it. So if my music hastens that for you, and you're able to see that politically and say, what this politician is saying, I don't agree with it. And you don't have to be a professor. If you don't agree with it, it's okay for you to go with the person that you agree with. That's what I'd rather have over, any other thing. There may be other things to analyze, but not immediately because it's off the top of the head. But there's one thing I'm very certain about that I want the music to do, is I want the music to get into the heads of the listener so that they can think by themselves. And if you feel what we're saying doesn't align, it's okay to dissociate from it. But other than that, I want you to think for yourself, because that's where growth is.
Vector, I'd like you to, as we wind down now, to give us your view on the place of the Nigerian youth, the young person, coming from the EndSARS protest and the agitation, and some of those feelings were those that were cooked up and bottled up, and some you can see being expressed towards the 2023 elections. Would you say that the feeling and the agitation or the yearnings of the young person was reckoned with in this election? Do you sense that maybe there was a disappointment on the younger generation in this country in the 2023 election?
There's been disappointment way before the 2023 election. So if you quote going to EndSARS, way before EndSARS, when I was growing up in the barracks, although I didn't know then, but now that I know, I remember seeing the decay format that could have created the mentality in the officers that sparked EndSARS in the first instance. That's plenty English is just simply put this way. In Falomo, there is a barracks right next to a car park. The car park is more conducive to live in than the barracks. The light from the car park is what people in the barracks used to see at night when there is no lights. That is a man that will leave his house and be given an assault rifle or a pistol to go and serve. Again, if there's any disappointment on the side of the youth, you know how they say, raise your child in the proper manner so that when they go, they will not depart from it. The problem Nigeria is facing right now, let me rephrase that, no problem. The agitation of the youth is coming from, these are the ones that were not raised. We are the ones that were catered to. We are the ones that went to the hospitals and saw how things dilapidated gradually. We are the ones that schooling failed. We are the ones that learning, maybe not schooling, I retrace my steps, learning failed. All this or all these have been happening way before elections. As a matter of fact, my argument is not about election and whatever it is particularly. It's about the disrespect to humanity that we have always experienced. Any political party that has been, whether old or new, go and check they say politics is in the grassroots. Go and check their grassroots representation or their representatives. Here, they are leveled with the grass. They are on the ground. They don't have anything to show for it. They're not even allowed to speak. So my argument, again, like the other record is, it's not just the results of the election, it's a lot. It's how Nigeria is and how it is affecting the youth that is growing now. So there's a whole lot to unpack with why there may be agitation. I'm sure it's beyond just one election season. It's something that's been happening for so long. And nobody seems to be interested in having those conversations that will awaken the minds that will change something. So maybe the music needs to start to do that intentionally now.
As we close this conversation, Vector, let me allow you to finally give us your own final thought on the whole episode of the music, what inspired it, and your message to the viewers and listeners of this podcast today.
Okay. What inspired the music? Two artists came together to speak about their present observation in their society as of today, as of now, as we speak, with information gathered from the same source, the society as we speak. But again, beyond it just being election conversation, there's too much neglect on the side of the average Nigerian. This extends to Africa, but because I live here, I will start from here. There's too much neglect on the side of the average Nigerian, whether you're a youth, whether you're an adult, whether you're a grandpa, whether you're a grandma. There's just too much neglect. Nobody seems to care. And that has created ripple effects of things that have happened that has now caused certain unrest in certain pockets. Because if we also agree, the area boy is just also somebody that the society failed. I mean, I grew up in Lafiaji. You can see how society fails people every day. So we're demanding accountability. I demand accountability from anybody, whether INEC chairman, whether registrar, whether polling unit observer. And I demand accountability in every sense of it, because when it's us as artists, you demand accountability from us regardless. But that's not even an argument here. It's just that holistically, I see a Nigeria that is talented, that is. Have you seen how many Nigerians there are in the Premier League, for example, or in the NBA, for example, or in the music world, for example? Look at Nigerians doing things in the world and look at the way they're being dealt with in Nigeria by the leaders of Nigeria. There's such a gap. It's so unbelievably crazy. So my stance here with the music would be that everybody needs to wake up and start to evaluate and start to pay more attention to the people who are leading us, because they are leading us. We have to look at them, shouldn't we, or don't we? So that's what this is. This is all eyes. It's Tupac. All eyes on you now.
Thank you so much, Vector. You mentioned the name of one artist, a rapper that I love so much, Tupac Shakur, and I mean, you mentioned, and I just remember some of the lyrics in his song and his rap music. Thank you so much, Vector, and I hope that everyone who've listened to this podcast today has been able to see from the perspective of the artists who have put this music together, Vector being one of them. Mr. Yakubu is a rap music that has been released by Fast the Bad Guy and Vector, some two of Nigerians' prominent rap artists, and I hope that you're being able to make sense of their inspiration to this music and perhaps the message have been drawn into these music. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. I'm Sean Okimale. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Mike On Podcast with Seun Okimbaloi. Mike On Podcast for the independent mind.